In this repository, we have just over 10 commits, but in a real repository, we often have hundreds or sometimes thousands of commits, depending on the age of the repository. Now, we don't want to look at all of these commits. So let me show you a few different ways to filter the history. We can filter by author, by date, by commit message, by content, and so on. So let's run git log one line. Now, if you want to see the last 3 commits, we simply type -3 here. There you go. Now we can also filter by author. So one line, here we type --author equals, and here in double quotes, we type the author's name. Let's say Mosh. So here are all the commits that I have submitted to this repository. We can also filter by date. So instead of author, we can use before and or after. So we can say, hey, show me all the commits from 2020, August 17. This will return all the commits created on this date and after. Take a look. We can also specify relative dates. That is pretty useful. For example, we can say, hey, show me all the commits from yesterday. Or we can say, show me all the commits from 1 week ago, or 2 days ago, or 1 month ago. Pretty useful. We can also filter by commit message or subject. For example, we can say, hey, show me all the commits that have the word GUI in their message. Here we type --grep equals, and here in double quotes, we type the search term, GUI. Just remember that this operation is case sensitive. So if we type GUI in lowercase, we're going to have a different result. Take a look. Here we have only a single commit that has the word GUI in its subject. We can also filter the history by content. Let's say we want to find all the commits that have added or removed a function declaration. So we type, instead of --grep, we're going to type -S. And here we're not going to use an equal sign. Instead, we're going to add double quotes. And in between the quotes, we're going to type our function name. Let's say all the commits that have added or removed this line. Now, in this repository, we don't have any code. We just have plain English. So let's find all the commits that have added the word objectives in capital. There you go. Here's the commit. Now, if you want to see the actual changes in this commit, we can use the patch option. You learned about it in the last video. So we bring up the last command, and then at the end, we type --patch. So in this commit, this file was modified, objectives.txt. And over here, you can see that objectives was inserted. Very useful. We can also filter the history by a range of commits. So let me bring up all the commits. Let's say we're only interested in the commits in a particular range here. Let's say from this commit to this commit over here. So we can say git log one line. Here we add the first commit hash. So FB0D184. Then we add double periods, and then we type the target commit ID, like EDB3594. Now, what if you want to find all the commits that touch a particular file or a bunch of files? Well, that is super easy. We simply type git log. We can optionally use one line. It's not compulsory. Now, if you want to find all the commits that have modified our table of content file, we simply add the file name at the end. So these 3 commits have modified this file. Now, sometimes depending on the name of your files, Git might complain and say, hey, this name is ambiguous. In those cases, we have to separate the file name from the options over here. So we bring up the last command, and here we use double hyphens to separate the file name from the options we're using here. You don't have to use this all the time. You have to use this only if Git complains about the file name, saying, hey, this is ambiguous, and I cannot figure out what options you're using. So in this case, we get the same result. Now, if you want to see the actual changes in each of these commits, once again, we can use the patch option. However, the patch option should be listed before the file name. So we cannot add it over here. It's not going to work because now, after we added double hyphens, Git is interpreting this as a file name. And there's no such a file called --patch. So to make this work, we have to use the patch option over here. Now for each commit, we can see the actual changes in our table of content file.